Power Instinct 2 is an arcade fighting game released by Atlus in April of 1994. It's the follow-up to the marginally popular and massively underrated Power Instinct. Let's get risky. In my video on the original Power Instinct, I talked all about how popular arcade fighting games were in the 90s. These games were everywhere, and gamers were lining up to play Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, King of Fighters, and more. 1994 was certainly a banner year, and once again, Atlus's franchise was up against some real juggernauts like Mortal Kombat 3, King of Fighters 94, Darkstalkers, Killer Instinct, and the reigning champion of arcade fighting games, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Despite the presence of such giants, Power Instinct 2 was still popular in Japan, where it was called Goketsuji Ichizoku 2. One challenge with this kind of niche title is figuring out who actually made it. The credits always use pseudonyms and they aren't consistent. Moreover, Atlus wasn't known for making fighting games and they only had a few arcade titles, so this kind of info can be very difficult to track down. With a little bit of internet digging, I was able to find that much of the development team went on to start Noise Factory, who would go on to develop games for SNK, including Metal Slug 3 through 5, Sengoku 3, and Rage of the Dragons, before finally folding in 2017. The main name that kept coming up was Keiko Iju, who was the main designer for the series. Iju wore many hats, including designing the characters, planning and producing, and even singing Annie's theme. Iju now goes by Keiko Tanaka, and has recently started a new company called Noisecore. Power Instinct 2 is on the Cave 68000 arcade hardware, a variant of the popular X68K boards that were prevalent in arcades at the time. This hardware is mostly used in shoot-'em-ups from the time, including a number of Bon Presto titles. Due to the success of Power Instinct 2 in Japan, an update was released in 1995 called Goketsuji Ichizoku Saikyo Densetsu, or The Ultimate Violent Legend. This game was eventually localized as Go Get Suji Legends, and is colloquially referred to as Power Instinct Legends. This follows the trend set by Street Fighter to release updated versions of an existing title. In 1996, both versions of the game would be ported to the PlayStation as a single title, Go Get Suji Ichizoku, the slightly more violent legend. The story of Power Instinct 2 picks up a year after Otane's victory in the first Goketsuji tournament. Otane has gone missing, and her mother, Oshima, enters the next tournament believing she can win easily. As you play through the arcade mode, parts of the criminal plan will be revealed. Upon finishing the game, you'll learn that Otane had been kidnapped by Oshima and Ome, and tossed into the ocean. She made her way back just in time to enter the final round of the tournament and defend her title. Power Instinct 2 retains all the unique features of the first Power Instinct: breakable barriers, double jumps, dashes, and surprisingly deep air combat for its time. It also adds some features, like a crouched walk and most importantly a meter. The stress meter works much like super meters from other games, with the bar filling up as you take damage or as your attacks are blocked. When the meter fills, the character lights up with fire for a few seconds, which grants them invulnerability and can damage the opponent if they touch it. After this animation completes, you can use your super move. Each player has only one super move, and the inputs are all relatively simple. It's usually the same input as a regular special, but with 2 punch or kick buttons instead of 1. Transformations become a staple of the game here, with several characters having the ability to transform, not just the sisters. Still, only 5 of the 14 characters have transformations. The entire cast of the original Power Instinct returns, and they're largely the same, although some characters have a few new moves to help kind of balance them out. There are 5 new fighters: Oshima, the mother of Otane and Ome, who has powerful air fighting abilities; Kurara, a young witch who can transform into a thong-wearing rollerblader and turn her opponents into a goose. She is also the star of Purikura Daisaksen, a game that is based on a popular type of photo booth created by Atlus. Kanji, Ome's ex-husband, who starts as a muscle-bound giant and can transform back into frail old man if he misses with certain special attacks. Kintaro, Kanji's great nephew who is fighting in the tournament to impress a girl and can turn into the superhero Poochie. And Sahad, an Arabian man who fights with a magic lamp and is in love with Angela Belty. Power Instinct 2 is a lot of fun, but it suffers from the same problem as the first Power Instinct, and that the single-player arcade mode is pretty broken. It starts out normal, but once you reach the 4th battle to face Ome, the AI cheating begins to get worse and worse regardless of the difficulty level you've selected. It's all here, skipping startup and recovery frames, reading inputs, extra damage, hitting the player in the middle of an active frame, throwing a player who's still in the air. It can be really frustrating. It's definitely best to play this with a friend instead of trying to beat the broken AI. If you do manage to beat all 13 characters, then that's right, you do have to fight every single character and reach Oshima. You have quite a challenge ahead. Eventually I was able to beat her by spamming projectiles, but I probably got lucky. I was sure she would be the last boss, but then Otani came back, and no human being could reasonably be expected to win this fight. At least not without absolute tons of practice first. It is brutal. This makes Geese from Capcom vs SNK 2 look like a total pushover. In the Legends update, all the fights are 2-on-2 team battles. Once an opponent is defeated, the other opponent steps in and the winner's life bar is refilled. Poochie and Super Kurara are their own characters in this version and no longer transformations. In the PlayStation port, both game modes are included. The graphics were improved here, but the character designs are virtually identical, so it's hard to see a real difference. The designs were mostly done by Range Murata, a talented artist who got his start with Power Instinct, and has gone on to create a unique style that was used in the anime Last Exile and the light novel Attack on Titan, Harsh Mistress of the City, as well as other games and anime. The backgrounds really come to life in this game with tons of color and animation. It can even be a little distracting from the gameplay sometimes. Sexy girls are a common element of the game's stages, as are the Kororo who continue their antics just like in the first Power Instinct. The visual improvements are much more noticeable in the Legends update, with more special effects and additional detail added to the backgrounds. The post-matchup screens now lampoon those of other fighting games, with embarrassing designs crudely drawn on the face of the loser. It's nice to see that the localization team translated the different dialogue for each matchup, so it feels like the characters are talking directly to each other on both the pre- and post-match screens. It gives us a much better idea of who these characters are and what their relationships are to each other. As expected from an arcade fighter, the sound and music design here is built to make an impact with lots of anime-style move callouts and other voice acting, and a soundtrack full of upbeat tunes, many of which have full vocals, which was an unusual feature at the time. It's pretty cool to hear someone singing a whole song in the background. In many stages, there's a band performing the song live, and it's very cool. Toshizaku Tanaka is credited with the sound design here, and he would go on to do a lot more of his work on Neo Geo titles like Metal Slug, the King of Fighters series, and of course, Matrimelee. Overall, Power Instinct 2 is a great improvement from the first game, and Legends takes that a step farther by adding the team battles and upgrading just about everything. The meter is a welcome addition, and the gameplay is exciting with elements not found in other fighters at the time. The art style is a little behind its peers, but that will all change with the next entry, Groove on Fight, which takes the series in a curious direction. Be sure to enable notifications so you don't miss that. Thank you so much for watching, and you know what's coming. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know you're out there. Let me know if there are any fighting games you would like to learn more about, and I'll see if I can make a video on those as well. This channel is a hobby for me, and I don't always get to upload videos on a consistent schedule, so do please enable those notifications so you'll know the next time I publish. I have some really exciting things coming up. I've got a long series on The Last Remnant, which is a forgotten RPG gem, and also I'm going to be doing these story videos that are going to have personal experiences in the context of the world of video games. I'm really excited about those. Please stay tuned. Thank you so much, and until next time, game over.